Hello, welcome everybody. This webinar is organized by Pune River Revival. We work for rivers, and a few weeks back, we had organized a program or a get together where many concerned and responsible citizens from Pune came together, and we said that we will vote for rivers. We will vote for rivers, trees, and hills. Whoever says that we'll protect that, we will vote for them. So today was the day we voted for rivers. Hopefully, we are just hoping that we will be heard more and our rivers and our trees will be better protected. So today we are going to talk about climate change, and Mukundji is here. He is a very important member of Pune River Revival. On personal front, he has solar in his home, and he does a lot of sustainable things. I also heard that he has stopped buying clothes, right? And there are many more things, and I'm sure even I don't know everything properly. So, Mukundji, could you please introduce yourself? Tell a little bit about yourself, and then we can start this webinar.
Yeah, I'm Mukund Mavalankar. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to talk about climate change, which is one of the important issues that we are facing as humanity. Rather, I would call it climate emergency. I have been a manufacturing professional and I retired in 2019 after 45 years of a professional career to focus my attention on renewable energy and climate change. I would like to talk about climate change. And today's my presentation will cover climate change, its causes, effects, and mitigation. I hope I'm able to get the subject across effectively and excite all of you to move into an action mode. Unless we go into action on the war footing, we will not be able to overcome this climate change. And we will not be able to mitigate, and we will not be able to leave a better world for our children and our grandchildren and future generations. So let us start. I will start this presentation with a short video. It's only 1.5 minutes, and it is made by the UN Meteorological Organization. It's a video that covers most of the things that I want to talk, and it covers very effectively.
Is there sound for this or no sound?
Yes, there is. I'm getting the sound. You're not getting?
No, that's Amit. Can you hear it?
No. Mukund, you'll have to do share sound. In Zoom, there is something called share sound. You'll have to do that.
Where is it? Share sound?
In Zoom, you will have one of them which will say share sound.
Let me. I'll just stop and see.
Yes. So when you share the video screen, you would see share sound on your right at the top. You just need to tick it.
When I start the video?
No, when you share the screen first time. So you need to stop and share
first
again.
Time when I share the screen.
Huh.
So should I stop sharing the screen and then start video again?
Right. So at the right top, You would see share sound as a tick box.
Okay.
Share sound under layout.
In Zoom.
Yes, in Zoom, yes. When you press the share button in Zoom, that's when you would see share sound on your right at the top under layout.
No, I'm not able to hear, but I think most of the things are written here, so let's not worry about the sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sound is only just the music. I'm sorry for this. We should have tested this, but anyhow, let us begin. So this video gives us an idea what is global warming, and basically what is happening is the global average temperature, which I have depicted here, is increasing at a phenomenal rate. We have been very fortunate to have born right now on the earth, because 12,000 years of consistent temperature we had, and that period is called the Holocene. The Holocene is the period where the average global temperature was 14 degrees centigrade, and it remained like that within plus minus 5. And you can see here, I have shown the last 2,000 years of this. So the temperature never increased between, I mean, more than 0.5 degrees plus or minus. However, in the last 50 years, this temperature has just shot up. So the scientists started thinking, why has this temperature started increasing? And they looked at the average temperature since the time it was being recorded in 1880. And you can see here from 1880 to 1910, the temperature was decreasing. Probably we were going into an ice age, but something changed here, around here, and that the temperature started increasing. And the rate of change of temperature kept on increasing. The last decade has been the warmest decade in the history of mankind for the last 100,000 years. 2016 was the highest recorded temperature. 2023 was 2023 even was higher, and 2024 is going to be higher. This is the rate at which things are changing. The scientists started looking at various parameters. What could cause such a increase in temperature and the global average temperature? And they started looking at data for temperature, and you'll be surprised, 800,000 years ago. And that data is here. In the last 800,000 years, the temperature went up and down. They related to carbon dioxide. So this is the plot of carbon dioxide. And just a minute, something went wrong. This is the plot of carbon dioxide. And they saw that the carbon dioxide concentration varied from 180 to 260. And in a cyclical manner, only once did it cross 300 at 350,000 years ago. But if you see now, from 1911 to today, this temperature has just gone up this concentration has gone up to 420 parts per million. So then the scientists put three things together: the CO2 concentration, the global temperature, and the sea level rise. And you will see here that the global temperature and sea level rise works in tandem. That means when the concentration of CO2 goes down, the global temperature goes down and the sea level also goes down. When the concentration goes up, the sea level and the global temperature goes up. And this, the lowest point, is called the ice age. So every 100,000 years out of this history of 400,000 depicted here is an ice age. So this is one ice age, second ice age, third, fourth, and so on. Human beings came on this earth 200,000 years ago, and we were living in caves and we were hunter-gatherers. This was the first ice age that we saw. This was the second ice age that we witnessed. And as we came out of the second ice age, it was 15,000 years ago, we went into Holocene. And Holocene was a period of constant temperature for 12,000 years. That gave us the ability to discover agriculture and start using agriculture as our primary food requirement. Why this temperature and what is the greenhouse effect? Greenhouse effect is our earth is covered with 140 kilometers tall atmosphere of gaseous matter. On the left hand side, you will see the natural greenhouse effect. When the sun shines, the radiation comes through the atmosphere and it warms the earth. In the evening, after the sun is set, the earth starts radiating heat to the space because space is cooler. However, some of this heat is re-emitted back to the earth because of this atmosphere. And this is the natural greenhouse effect. And it maintained a constant temperature for the last 12,000 years because more heat was escaping out of the atmosphere. After that, what happened was that the concentration of greenhouse gases, there are three main greenhouse gases, the CO2, carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. These molecules absorb heat in the infrared radiation and retransmit it back to the earth afterwards. So less heat was escaping out. So we changed from a balanced situation to an imbalanced situation, and the earth started becoming hotter and hotter and hotter. Let us look at the rate of rise of CO2 emissions by source. Here is a graph from 1751 to 2013. And you will see that around 1820, 1825, when the first industrial revolution began, which was driven by coal, which is a solid fuel. So initially, all the emissions were because of coal. Around 1920, we discovered crude oil and various fractions of crude oil, like the diesel, petrol, aviation fluid, and we started using that as the liquid fuel. So this green part here is the use of emissions because of use of liquid fuels. Around 1950, we discovered yet another fossil fuel, and that is the gas. And this gas is taken out by fracking or fracturing the rocks inside the earth. So if you total up all this, the emissions because of the solid fuel, emissions because of the liquid fuel, emissions because of gaseous matter, we see that 90% of our emissions are because of fossil fuels. Today, we are emitting 40 billion tons of CO2 every year. You know how large that quantity is? The largest ship that we have built is an aircraft carrier, which weighs around 100,000 tons. And if you divide 40 billion by 100,000, it comes out to be 400,000 aircraft carriers going up in the air every year. That is the rate at which human beings are emitting CO2. 4,000 aircraft carriers, 400,000 aircraft carriers in the air every year. Now, this graph is very interesting. You have fossil fuel emissions rising up. You have the land use emissions staying almost constant. At the bottom is what is called as the resilience of the earth. The dark green area is 30% of the emissions are absorbed by the oceans, and another 30% absorbed by the land mass, which is called the land sink. That means the trees and the forests and everything, and the remaining blue part goes into the atmosphere. So if this was not there, we would have reached 1.5 degrees much earlier. So nature helps us to absorb 30% of our emissions, and it releases 50% of our oxygen requirement. That is the oceans itself. At what rate is the Earth heating? Earth is heating every second, 5 atomic Hiroshima scale bombs per second. That is the rate of rise of heat in the atmosphere. 93% of this heat is absorbed in the oceans, 2.3 in the atmosphere, 2.1 on the continents, and 0.9% in the glacier and ice caps. This is depicted on the right-hand side. I'm just giving you figures so that you know and understand the scale on which we are talking. What are the effects of climate change? The first, I'll talk about 4 major effects. The first effect is extreme weather events, and you have all seen, I'll not talk about it, but every day in the news in India, out of the last 300 days, 255 days, there was some climate event or the other, and so is with the world. Second is loss of biodiversity, biocapacity of the earth. What is the loss of biocapacity? There is an important day, and I will walk you through in the next slide. It is called the Earth Overshoot Day. And this day occurred on 1st of August in 2024. Next is the serious loss of biodiversity. That means we are losing natural resources which turn our planet, soil and air. 150 species are lost every day consistently for the last 50 years. And the last but not the least is the health impact. And I will talk about it in the next slide. Here is what Earth Overshoot Day is. When humanity's ecological footprint exceeds the Earth's biocapacity, that means we are drawing from the Earth. Let me give you a simple example. Suppose my salary is 120,000 rupees, and that is deposited on every 1st of January. And I keep drawing from my bank account 10,000 rupees. That means I am sustainable because after the end of 12 months, I will use up all the bank balance, and my next salary check will come. So this is what happens to Earth. Earth has a certain shape, size, and solar radiation coming onto it, and it can have some biocapacity to regenerate resources. If my demand on the resources is more, then what happens is I become bankrupt on 1st of August this year. What do I do to overcome that? I use the wealth which my ancestors had not used from drilling deep down in the earth and taking out fossil fuels. And that is how we have been surviving. In 1971, we were sustainable. Today, we are not. In 1971, we were using the full Earth's biocapacity, but today we require 1.75 times the Earth's biocapacity. And this is alarming. There is another thing that I would like to address, and that is the rate of doubling of human population. Human population doubled from 0.25 to 0.5 billion in 700, almost 700 years. Next doubling was 0.5 to 1 billion in 260 years. Next doubling was from 1 to 2 billion in 125 years. And the last two doublings happened in my lifetime, from 2 to 4 and 4 to 8. Today we are at 8. And this is what is putting a large demand on the biocapacity of the earth. Let us look at the rise in human ailments. The disease which are caused by air pollution are asthma, lung cancer, leukemia, pneumonia, birth defects. Water pollution also causes both types of water pollution. So they're chemical as well as microorganisms. 29% of the deaths of lung cancer are because of air pollution. 17% of deaths from acute lower respiratory infection is from air pollution. And you can go on and on and on. Another very important aspect is that there is a rise in infectious diseases. And this happens because of loss of forest. We had HIV. Just when we got control over HIV, Zika hit us. Then Ebola hit us. And then COVID. And you will see in this plot the effect. I mean, they are all rising in a geometrical proportions. The total outbreaks, the number of total outbreaks are rising in geometrical proportions. This is the most important aspect of human health. What are the solutions? For me, there are three low-hanging fruits, and we must grab these fruits as soon as possible because the window of opportunity is shortening by every second. First, the reason why we are in this predicament is because of emissions because of fossil fuels. So we must get rid of all the fossil fuel use. We must transition to renewable energy. We must use modern storage methods because renewable energies are interrupted energy. They're not continuous. And we must use smart grids to overcome that interrupted nature and balance the storage with generation and usage. Second thing we must do, and which is the easiest thing to do, is reduce. First, refuse. We are using so much natural resource that at some times we have to refuse to buy new things. For example, I have stopped buying clothes for the last 5 years, and I'm not short of clothes. I'm telling you. Whatever that reduced requirement is, we reduce it further by improving efficiency, reuse whatever we have, and recycle whatever is remaining. Next thing we have to do is we have to go in for massive reforestation and sustainable. You will be surprised to know that 50% of land, 50% of land is just degraded forest land. And if we address our attention to this, we can plant and nurture trees on the degraded forest land. And second very important thing, which improves the productivity of soil. Soil gives us all the nutrients and all the food. So we need to increase the degraded quality of soil by organic farming. So these are the three low-hanging fruits. There are many solutions. Now let us look at why I recommend solar energy. Sun is the primary source of energy. And every time on Earth you convert from one energy to another, you lose energy. So why not use the primary source of energy? It is the most abundant source of energy. And it is an eternal source of energy as long as we are concerned. For the next 3 billion years, sun is going to be there. You know how much solar energy we receive in 1 hour on the Earth? We receive in 1 hour In 1 hour, we receive enough energy to last us for the whole year. So let us look at this graphic here. This yellow circle reflects the total sun energy that we are receiving in 1 year, 23 terawatts. And how much do we require in 1 year? 16 terawatts. This side of the slide shows the total reserves we have of coal, uranium, oil, and natural gas. The solar energy received in every year is much larger than all these put together. Why should we use solar? Solar plant first, which convert the energy from solar energy to useful electrical energy, has no moving parts. So it is very simple to use. It has the least gestation period. Once you order, within 2 months, your solar plant will start operating. If it's a rooftop, it is land-based, it will take maybe 5 months or 6 months to produce. It produces no byproducts and it produces no heat. It is easy to implement. This technology has matured and it has become very reliable. And now also it has become economical. The payback period is between 3 and 4 years. In India, the payback period is only 2 years. Let us see how we convert solar energy into a useful energy. This is called the solar panel. It comprises many silicon cells, which are nothing but PV junctions. Once the photon starts hitting these PV junctions, they produce a DC current. And that DC current is converted, going to an inverter, and that inverter changes it to AC. And our house electricity is all alternate current at 230 volts. So if the house requires the energy when the sun is shining, it is provided to the house. And if house doesn't require, that means house means our needs. It could be an industry, it could be an office, it could be a restaurant. And when the sun, when there is extra energy, it is fed back to the grid. So this is called a simple grid-tied system. The next system that I will show you is what is called a hybrid system. The solar panel converts solar energy into useful electrical energy. This is DC energy. This is stored in batteries and given to the inverter. If the house or the end use requires energy, it is supplied to the end use. Otherwise, it goes back to the grid. And if house and grid doesn't require, then the energy is stored in the batteries. And this energy can be used at night when grid is not available, or for some reason the grid pricing is very high. So during evening, during night, you can use batteries to supply this energy. And all these systems have become very easy to implement. Now let us look at, I have to keep moving this, what progress needs to be made by 2030 to limit the global warming temperature to 1.5 degrees. And here is a chart published by IPCC. You have to use renewable, you have to scale up renewables 6 times faster than what we have done. You have to transition to electrical vehicles 22 times faster than what we have done. And you have to increase the tree cover 5 times faster than what we have done. This is based on the historical data. Now let me talk to you about carbon budget. Carbon budget is the amount of CO2 in gigatons we can emit before we reach. Atmosphere has certain capacity of absorbing CO2 and the temperature will go on rising. At what capacity of the atmosphere you will, in terms of gigatons, and that works out to be almost 3,000 tons. And these figures are from 11 years ago. And why I said give this figure of 11 years ago? is because we had time and we have not acted upon it. We had 11 years to fill up this 420. But if you see today's situation, today we are left with only 5 years, because out of the 420 gigatons of energy that was remaining in the carbon budget, we have used up 220. So we are left with only 200. And every year we are now increasing the emissions by 50 gigatons. So in the next 5 years, we will reach this limit of 1.5 degrees centigrade. If we cross this, we go over to 2 degrees. And why we should not go to 2 degrees is at 2 degrees, all the tipping points start tipping and situation becomes reversible. At 1.5 degrees, we will be very uncomfortable with climate change and the extreme weather events, but still all the climate parameters will be reversible. And that is why we must target for 1.5 degrees. Now, let me tell you about what each one of us should do to achieve this in the next 5 years. We need to stop using fossil fuels, period. No discussion. We should electrify everything, because using electricity is the most efficient way. I'll give you an example. A car, an ICE car, if you take the efficiency from fuel to the road, is only 20%. Less 80% goes out as heat. While if you use an electric car or electric transport or electric public transport, this efficiency goes to 95% or 93%. That means you waste less. And hence, we must transition to everything electrical. And this electricity must come from wind, solar, and hydro. There is an interesting book I read, and you must all read. It is called No Miracles Required. We have the technology, we have wind energy, we have solar energy, and we have hydro energy. It's only the will to put it to use that is required. Reduce use of natural resources so that we increase the biocapacity. On one side, we have to reduce emission. On the other side, we have to increase the biocapacity. We have to restore rivers. We have to restore forests. We have to restore lakes. We must plant at least each one of us 5 trees. We must reduce, recycle, and push back the Earth Deficit Day to 31st December. Most importantly, we have to act on war footing. Each one of us has to act individually, and each one of us has to act in groups and collectively. Collectively, addressing this problem, we will be able to use. I'll briefly mention about sustainability and close my presentation, and maybe I'll cover sustainability in the next. When our usage or expenditure of natural resources is less than our earnings or accruals, we become sustainable. So let us hope for a sustainable future. And I invite you to ask me questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mukund. It was really, really enlightening. So many important numbers, and I'm sure it was a great learning experience for everybody. Before we go ahead with the question answers, I just have a 1 minute of announcement. We are from, Pune River Revival. We as a group are organizing a small assignment for everybody, which is map a tree, each one counts. What we are doing is we are mapping riparian flora. Riparian means which is adjacent to the river, on the river banks. Whatever trees are there, we are mapping it. So, Amit, if you could give the link here in the chat for the WhatsApp group. So basically, we want all the volunteers. We are doing it only for 3 days. It's not going to take a lot of time. Only 2 hours in the morning for 3 days. We will give you the dates. All we have to do is we have to go to the particular spot in the riparian zone, and we don't have to be experts. There will be experts available to guide us. They will give us on the field training, and we just need our cell phones because there will be an app to map the tree. We take a picture and we capture coordinates and we map the tree. If we want to conserve the riparian zone, if we want to restore it, we first should know what is there. And that is why this mapping is very important. It will also take us closer to rivers and the riparian zone. So I request everybody to please volunteer for us. We will give the link here in the chat. And it's not going to take a lot of time, and you don't have to be an expert. So over to you, Sanjeev, for question, answers, and other discussion.
Even if it takes long time, we should do it.
Sanjeev, you are mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that was a very, like Amit rightly mentioned, very rich presentation, very, too good actually. One, because I think more than the information, I think the way it was presented with good visuals and very less text but exact text, I think it has surely captured everyone's thoughts, and people will start working on that. So Amit, I think, had a question saying that population putting unnecessary demand on resources is a myth, because 90% of the population is mostly poor in the world and lives on very light footprint lifestyles. And the example which has been given is USA alone consumes more than the rest of the world combined. So, what is your
It's a good question, and it is worth answering that question. First, this is what we have been doing for the last 50 years, trying to blame each other. And that is the reason we have come into the mess. It is a fact that in my lifetime, the population had doubled twice over. So we cannot neglect that fact. We cannot neglect the historical fact that the developed countries have used up many resources. And last 40 years, since the Kyoto Protocol in 1992, we are just blaming each other. It was for the first time that the Paris Agreement said that each one comes up with a nationally determined commitment. NDCs, these are called. So each nation was given the freedom to define their own course. And then everything was put together. And that number came to 2 degrees. So what was decided in Paris in 2016 was, let us be a little more aggressive without putting any restrictions on anybody. Each one comes up voluntarily and betters those figures so that we can reach 1.5 degrees. Reaching 1.5 degrees is most important. If we cross that, we would have lot of strife, wars, and human suffering. We want to avoid that.
Thanks for the answer. There is one more, I think, sort of another question from Amit. He's saying processes such as steel production need fossil fuels to demand for new production. What do you think will substitute coal or other fossil fuels for producing steel?
In my view, we should start reducing our steel requirement. Okay? Why do we, to be able to, we are living on a finite earth. Our earth is not infinite. Our resources are running out. Biocapacity of earth is running out. So we should look at a scenario, an economy where we use our intelligence and AI to help us go through this transition from fossil fuel energy to renewable energy. Many of the steel plants have started using hydrogen as a fuel, but still it is on an experimental basis. So two things that is required. One is we reduce our requirement for steel. Secondly, use renewable energy to produce steel so that we don't generate carbon emissions.
Yeah. So another question is, what will it take to create reliable backup systems to create uninterrupted supply? Like assuming 100% of power generation in India shifts to wind or hydro, are we prepared for it? And any links which can be shared on this?
We are not prepared for it right now, but we need to plan for it. Every country has a transition plan. And if you look at India's transition plan, is only promises. Okay, we have set a target to reach 500 gigawatts in the next 5 years, and where we have reached is only 80 gigawatts. So we make tall promises, but don't back it up with plans. If you take Australia, there are 10 countries who have become 100% renewable countries. They get every energy that they require is from renewable sources. You can look it up on the internet and you will be surprised that this number was less. Now it has become 10 countries. There are another 20 countries which have become 75. So there is enough technology available with us where an intermittent source of energy can be converted into a useful energy for 24 hours. All of us use a mobile phone every day. It is an interrupted source. But we have learned to make the batteries efficient. We have learned to make the electronics more efficient, and we have learned to charge it every night. And such systems are coming up. Go on the Google, find out an energy company called Octopus Energy in UK. They are supplying energy 100% renewable for the last 8 years to whichever customer wants it. And they're using the best of AI systems to map the needs of the user and connect it with the renewable interrupted generation and storage that is available. So 20 million customers are supplied in 17 countries with 100% renewable energy by a single company called Octopus Energy. So this technology is available to us. Why India should not tie up with Octopus? They have developed a AI-based software called Kraken, and that connects uh, 30 million data points in UK. They follow with customers. Every half an hour, their demand is seen today and what it is going to be tomorrow. And that is mapped with the sources of energy in the North Sea and some transfer of energy from Finland and some energy they generate out of solar panels. Recently, I converted my daughter's house in UK to completely solar. Everything in our house happens electrically. No fuel, no gas, no hydrogen, no kerosene. So cooking, heating, water heating, all the appliances are electric, and all that energy comes from solar energy.
That's great. That's
The
really
cost,
fantastic.
the cost, she bought a new house, and the cost was only 2% of the cost of the house. So the costs have come down considerably. We get limited with our thinking.
Right. I think you're very right. I think India should be, in the forefront of applying all these technologies. So the next
And make a
question
plan. make
Yeah.
a plan
Yeah.
and stick to that plan and find out what are the deliverables and review those deliverables.
Yeah, yeah. And I think somewhere it should be in the voting promises also. I think election
Yes,
promises. We should
absolutely.
also
So
be
you should
talking about that
vote,
in our
vote me
manifestos.
for the parliament.
Correct, correct. So Vijay had a question about whether carbon credits. He wants to talk about that, but I'm not sure whether it is related to this, Vijay. So we will
No,
pass
it is
on.
very much related to this, and I will answer Vijay's question. It's a
Okay,
very good
okay,
question.
okay.
Uh, See, the whole thing is the whole human enterprise. I'm talking little philosophically, Vijay, but the whole human enterprise is based on commerce, on trading, and every trade people find out loopholes. I was recently looking at the carbon credits and how they have been misused. People are buying carbon credits. I've read of a company, and you might be knowing of that company. It is called L'Oreal. That's a cosmetic company. And they gave a target that by 2030, they will be carbon neutral. So they bought lot of carbon credits from a Swiss company in Switzerland, which was tied up with a project in Honduras. And last 8 years, if you go to Honduras, you will find that nothing has happened on that project. Those credits were bought, the money went to Switzerland, it did not reach Honduras. So, see, we cannot trade everything. And that is the whole problem. Human beings have become very greedy. So, this greed is what is limiting us. We want to, and who are these people? Uh, Amit said that only a top 10% are responsible for 50% of emissions. But we can't kill top 20 people, top 10% of the population. If we kill that, the global problem will go away. But we can't do that. We have to get everybody engaged with us and to ensure that they understand and they work with us.
Good. Yeah, that's a very good answer. So I think Yogesh is asking whether IT can play a role in climate change and what are practices organizations to adapt. I think you mentioned about AI is part of IT,
Yeah,
but
AI can be used very effectively to match demand and supply. AI can be used effectively to monitor various projects that are happening of restoration. AI can be monitored to encourage people to contribute. For example, there is one company in India, and you will be surprised. This company called Sunday Grids. What they have done is they have used IT to effectively. Some people don't have space over their rooftop, so they don't know they can't put solar panels. So what this company does is they put solar installation at one place and then they distribute it to various customers. So they feed the energy into the distribution company, and the distribution company then settles it according to their bills. And this requires lot of IT, and they have used this very effectively. It's a company started by three young entrepreneurs using IT very effectively. And there are many such examples.
yeah, that's true. I think the IT will play a big role when used effectively. That's true. Ramzan wanted to know more about LIPO, I think lithium, whatever, battery production and recycling, and alternatives to that. And maybe,
There are many alternatives which are coming up, but
yeah,
if you look at the lithium batteries, uh, people have already worked out what is to be done at the end of the battery life of lithium. For example, the mobile lithium requires very high density. So when you put a battery in the car, there is a trade-off between the weight and the energy that you want out of it. The heavier the battery, the longer the range. But you cannot have a big infinite battery. So on one side, once the car battery goes down by 80%, that same battery can use for another 15 years in the house. So many people have started doing this, that there is a company in America, rather three companies in America, which buy old car batteries and give it for use. Because in the home, this is a stationary application. For the mobile towers, it is a stationary application. So it's the second use of that battery. And now there are companies available who are able to, uh, because in a battery, lithium get never used up. It is just going from anode to cathode and cathode to anode. At the end of the electrolyte life, the battery is over. The lithium can be extracted from it. 93% is the extraction that is possible now in an economical fashion from recycled batteries. Also, some new modern batteries which are coming up, and the best candidate right now available is sodium ion. And especially the sodium ion solid state battery is having a life which is, in terms of number of cycles or degradation because of number of cycles, is twice that of lithium ion. And sodium ion has much smaller environmental footprint. So many technologies are going to come. There is a large storage. There is a large storage company which is going to use heat to store energy. So there are these huge silos. So grid scale storage. There are many options are now available. The only thing is, what is the round trip efficiency? When you put the energy into the battery, it may be a thermal battery or it may be a chemical battery. And when you withdraw it, what is the round trip efficiency? Today, thermal silos are available with a round trip efficiency of 80% on grid scale. Have
So
I
I think,
answered your question,
yeah,
Ramjan?
I think, yeah, and that answers the next question also from Amit saying, concern about production and disposal of batteries when it comes to EV vehicles. So do they consider this process when they say EVs are lesser impacting? So I think you already sort of answered this, that we can recycle it cleverly, with use of better
Yes.
technology and use of I think more better technologies in both in
The
the
same
reuse also
question is
and
also
the
asked
material
about
also. Yeah.
solar panels, and the answer is same.
Yeah.
Just imagine that I put up solar panels 12 years ago, and they're still giving me good, useful energy. The weight of all the solar panels that I have put up, the weight of all the solar panels that I put up till now, first 10 years, 12 panels, and then using the same panels, another four I added. The weight of all those panels put together is only 600 kilograms. Okay. Out of which I don't know how much will be the silicon, but I can calculate that. And how much I have saved emissions? 40 tons. So 40 tons of emissions have been saved. Even if after 25 years of the usage of those panels, if I have to scrap them, I'll be scrapping only 600 kilograms.
True. I think yeah, better measurements and all will sort of answer such questions. Vijay has asked this question. I think maybe this will be the final question because we are also running out of time. He's saying, can regulations help incentivize companies to reduce their carbon footprint and how to convert promises to reality? Should energy prices go up to reflect the real cost? If it also should include environmental costs.
What should be done, Vijay, is uh, the energy cost, as long as fossil fuels are concerned, are kept low intentionally because of the lobby of the fossil fuels. Today, the fossil fuel subsidy is much more than $2 trillion. So when you compare the cost, and today already the solar energy and wind energy costs are much less than the fossil fuel, even though they are subsidized. Have I answered your question? This is one. Secondly, it is a very simple thing that you tax everything that is, anybody who uses fossil fuel, you tax it. And the usage will quickly go over to renewable energy because it is cheaper form of energy. It is more sustainable form of energy. So today, if I look at the large solar plants, energy is available at 2 rupees per kilowatt hour. We are buying at in the city the first three at 4 rupees per kilowatt hour.
Yeah. So Vijay, VK also says, yeah, thanks your point about mobile phone charging and mapping it at a large scale at national level is quite interesting. I think when he meant about charging during the night and if everybody does it, it will give a big impact. It's quite interesting. I think we need to have more such tips and how to actually reduce our even current usage. So we are,
Absolutely.
yeah. So we are now at the end of our session, and it was a really informative and very enlightening, and like I said, very rich session because of the way it was presented. And I really wish actually more people could join today. I think people have some election hangover or whatever, they're too tired or whatever.
Yeah, that
But
was somebody was suggesting you keep this for 28.
yeah, I think this was something which they will want to have for the rest of their lives. They should be listening to this. So thanks a lot. And do join us for our next sessions, which are happening every Wednesday. Also join us for our events, which we are planning to have, near the river. One was like Prajakta mentioned. It's about mapping trees at the river bank. Um, Mukund didn't sort of mention it, but he said that we have to plant 5 trees per year. I would say, start at least saving 5 trees per year per person. And, that itself is a big deal because we have some beautiful trees around the river bank, which are also helping in climate mitigation by absorbing the oxygen and, making sure it doesn't go in the atmosphere. And if these trees don't exist, this is one of the biggest, it will actually lead to also climate whatever problems. So
Yeah, of course, we have to maintain what we have, but at the same time, we have to increase
yeah,
what we
sure.
have lost.
Yeah.
That is what I
So,
was meaning.
correct. So please join us for all this. It's going to be a very exciting activity. You will learn a lot about the trees at the river bank and how they help us in our day-to-day life. I think which we don't realize. So please join us for the activity. And once again, thanks to Mukund and all the audience. I think they were asking very useful and informative questions.
Contact number, please, sir, here.
So thank you, everyone. You want a contact number of whom?
Yeah, it's in the group, but if you want, you can write it down or I can put it on the chat.
रवी तुम्ही ग्रुपवर आहेत काय पुणे रिव्हर रिवायवल ग्रुपवर
हो आहे सर आहे
त्याच्यावर
हा,
असेल
तिथे
सगळे
मी
मुकुंदचे
मिळेल,
पण
पण
नंबर्स
मी
आहेत
आता चॅट
तुम्ही
मध्ये
कोणालाही
टाकलाय.
कॉल करू शकता हो
मी आता
आणि
चॅट
जरूर
मध्ये
कॉल करा
टाकलाय.
हो चॅट मध्ये पण टाकलंय हो या आय मीन आय थिंक मुकुंद ऑल्सो इन्व्हाइट्स पीपल टू कम अँड see what is actually practice. He doesn't
See
preach,
my
he
place.
does what he preaches.
See
So
my place. For last 12 years, I have not used outside energy or used it very minimum only for 5-6 days. But I am exporting more energy back to this thing. I have now also bought a EV and I have not buying any more petrol.
great. Thanks a lot, Mukund. Thanks everyone, and see you next Wednesday. And
Yeah.
on our
Bye bye.
activities. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everybody.